In the shimmering world of global fame, where every smile is calculated for a camera angle and every tear carries a brand message, an uncrowned kingdom exists in the heart of California. This is not a kingdom of ancient stone castles or the rigid protocols of blue-blooded ancestry. This is the kingdom of media manipulation. As the velvet curtain rises on this stage, we aren't just observing a couple in search of freedom. We are watching the most meticulously choreographed performance of the 21st century. The protagonist, Meghan Markle, a woman who has successfully turned her life into a non-stop, high-stakes reality series. Let us begin with an image that seems, on the surface, profoundly sweet. A warm afternoon in Montecito, a social media post that sends millions into a flurry of admiration. A handwritten note, the elegant script of a dedicated flight crew, wishing a happy 8th anniversary to an exiled royal couple. It is perfect. It is heartwarming. It is, perhaps, a bit too perfect. If you are discerning enough to peer through the thick fog of public praise, you will see the hairline fractures appearing on the surface of this flawless facade. Is this a genuine moment of human connection, or is it a stunt, a tactical media maneuver designed to salvage a reputation that is crumbling at its very foundation? To understand why this card matters so much, we must travel back in time, into the pressurized cabins of transatlantic first-class suites. In the public eye, Meghan has tirelessly built the image of a humanitarian, a vessel of compassion. However, behind the closed doors of business class, stories from whistleblowers, staff members from British Airways itself, paint a drastically different portrait. They speak of the most difficult passenger they have ever encountered. They recount tales of impossible demands, a chilling coldness toward those serving her, and a strange, detached indifference toward her own children during the long hauls across the ocean. So, why would this same crew suddenly pen a note overflowing with love and adoration? The answer lies in a hidden corner of the aviation world that few travelers ever notice: the High Life Shop service. This is the place where money buys spontaneity. Do you want a gift delivered at 30,000 feet? Do you want a personalized message that looks stunning on an Instagram feed? With a few clicks and a payment process 72 hours before departure, the miracle is scheduled. The bitter truth behind that coincidental card may be nothing more than an itemized invoice sent directly to a PR firm. But why the desperation for this specific narrative now? To find the answer, we must look across the ocean to Geneva, Switzerland. Only days prior, an event billed as a massive turning point in Meghan's political and humanitarian career had taken place. She stood there, radiant in designer threads, ready to deliver a profound speech on child safety in the digital age. She expected a thundering crowd, the blinding flash of 1,000 cameras, and the adulation of the global elite. Instead, she was met with the freezing silence of reality. The square in Geneva was so empty that the echo of her own voice became a haunting reminder of her fading influence. 10 people. 10. That was the count. It wasn't an event, it was a public relations catastrophe. The international media, always hungry for a fall from grace, began to sharpen their knives. Headlines about waning star power and the end of the Sussex era began to ripple from London to New York. And that is precisely when the Montecito PR machine shifted into overdrive. In the world of high-level spin, there is a strategy known as flood the zone. When a catastrophic negative story breaks, the objective isn't to explain it away. It is to drown it in a wave of new, shinier, louder content. The British Airways card was the first gambit in this game of damage control. She needed the world to forget the 10 people in Geneva and focus on the love she received in the clouds. The play continued with a series of candid, yet cinematic photographs. Passionate kisses shared over a lemon elderflower cake, the exact flavor of the historic royal wedding cake from years ago. Every detail was a psychological trigger, designed to evoke memories of the fairy tale wedding the world once rooted for. But look at the angles. Look at the crispness of the resolution. These aren't the blurry snaps of a husband in love with his wife. They are the products of professional lenses, captured by those who know exactly when the shutter needs to click to create the most accidental perfection. The hypocrisy reaches a fever pitch when we recall the very reason they claimed to flee the British monarchy: the right to privacy. They told us they wanted to protect their children from the prying eyes of the press. They sued news agencies for paparazzi shots taken from miles away. Yet, Here they are, voluntarily exposing their most intimate moments to millions. Worse still, they have begun to weave their children into the tapestry of their commercial endeavors. Archie and Lilibet, children who allegedly required absolute shielding, are now appearing as background actors in a long-running drama, used to boost engagement for scented candles and lifestyle brands. There is a jagged, uncomfortable truth here. For the Duke and Duchess of Sussex, privacy is not a right, it is a currency. They only protect it when they can't sell it for a higher price. When the situation demands it, they are more than willing to put it on the auction block for public consumption. Every move Meghan Markle makes appears to be part of a script vetted by the world's most expensive image consultants. From the brand of her coat to the person she stands next to at a dinner party, everything serves one master: relevancy. Meghan's greatest fear isn't being hated, it is being forgotten. In Hollywood, obscurity is the only true death. When you are no longer a working royal, when the stories of grievance against your in-laws have become repetitive and stale, what do you have left to sell? You must sell your life. You must turn every anniversary into a global event and every flight into a performance of virtue. But this is a dangerous game. The public is not blind. They can be misled once, perhaps twice. But when the machinery becomes this visible, the backlash arrives like a storm. The calculated leak of that card to People magazine, her unofficial mouthpiece, immediately following the Geneva failure, revealed a scent of desperation. It wasn't the act of a happy woman enjoying her life. It was the act of a strategist trying to plug the holes in a sinking ship. We are witnessing the rise of a new kind of power, power based on the manipulation of emotion. Meghan doesn't need you to believe her. She only needs you to feel something, be it inspired or outraged. As long as her name is in your mouth, she is winning. But if you look closely at her eyes in those photos, you see it. There is an emptiness there. The exhaustion of an actress who has been playing a role for far too long, without a single day off. Part 1 of this journey ends here, at the threshold of truth and artifice. We have seen how a simple card can be used to mask a hollow square in Switzerland. We have seen how privacy is sacrificed at the altar of a PR campaign. But what we are about to uncover in the next chapter is far more chilling. It is the moment this anniversary play accidentally dragged their children into a commercial vortex they didn't sign up for. And it is the moment a fatal error in choosing an ally caused the perfect curtain to finally rip. Is love the motivation, or is it merely the most effective marketing tool in this woman's arsenal? Brace yourselves, because we have only just begun to peel the first layers of the onion that is the Sussex brand. The world of Meghan and Harry has always been a theater of war, but until now, the battles have been fought in the court of public opinion, on Oprah's sofa, in Netflix documentaries, and within the pages of ghost-written memoirs. But in Part 5, the battlefield shifts. The soft focus of the camera is replaced by the harsh, fluorescent lights of the courtroom. The script is no longer written by PR gurus, but by lawyers. And in this arena, there is one word that sends a shiver through the hills of Montecito: discovery. In the legal world, discovery is the process where both sides must turn over their private communications, emails, text messages, encrypted notes, to be used as evidence. For a couple whose entire brand is built on a carefully curated truth, discovery is the ultimate poison. They have spent millions suing the British press for violating their privacy, but in doing so, they have opened a door that they can no longer close. The first major warning shot came during Meghan's privacy suit against the Associated Newspapers. For months, she maintained she had no involvement in the book Finding Freedom. But then came the discovery. A cache of emails emerged, proving that she had, in fact, meticulously briefed her communications secretary to pass information to the authors. The perfect memory was revealed to be forgetfulness under oath. It was a moment of public humiliation that proved a vital point. Their private reality rarely matches their public narrative. But the stakes in 2024 are infinitely higher. Now, the crosshairs are aimed not just at Meghan's emails, but at Harry's very right to live in the United States. In his memoir, Spare, Harry sought to be the most honest royal in history, detailing his past use of illegal substances with a level of grit that shocked the establishment. To the public, it was bravery. To the legal analysts, it was a tactical suicide. And the U.S. Admitting to drug use is often grounds for the denial or revocation of a visa. Enter the Heritage Foundation. This powerful DC think tank has filed a lawsuit to force the Department of Homeland Security to unseal Harry's visa application. They want to know one thing. Did the prince lie on his forms, or did the government grant him special treatment because of his title? The irony is as thick as the California fog. Harry and Meghan fled the UK, claiming they were being hunted by the press and denied protection. Now, they are in a legal dogfight in Washington, D.C., trying to keep a government document private, while the truth Harry so proudly sold for millions in his book is being used as the primary weapon against him. If those documents are unsealed, the Sussexes won't just be facing a PR crisis, they will be facing a federal one. And then, there is the Sussex Survivors Club, the former staff members who have lived behind the velvet curtain. For years, allegations of bullying and a toxic work environment have circled Meghan like vultures. The Buckingham Palace report into these allegations remains under lock and key, a gift of silence from King Charles to his son. But silence has a shelf life. As the couple continues to sue for libel and privacy, they run the risk of a whistleblower being called to the stand. In a court of law, NDAs, non-disclosure agreements, can be overridden by a subpoena. Imagine a deposition where a former assistant, no longer afraid of a lifestyle brand, describes the real atmosphere in the Nursery boardroom. Imagine the flight crew card being cross-examined against actual internal memos. The Sussexes are learning a cold, hard lesson. You cannot sue everyone for your truth without eventually having to face the truth. Their legal strategy has become a circular firing squad. To protect their image, they sue. To sue, they must undergo discovery. Discovery reveals the artifice. The revelation of artifice destroys the image. It is a loop of self-destruction that no amount of jam jars can fix. The legal bills are mounting, the secrets are leaking, and the privacy shield they've spent years building has become a lightning rod for scrutiny. They are no longer the hunters, they are the ones caught in the high beams of the law. But as the legal walls close in, the most profound threat of all is emerging from within their own house. It isn't a lawsuit, it isn't a visa scandal. It is the one thing that even the most powerful lawyers cannot suppress, the verdict of the silent majority. In the final chapter, Part 6, The Sunset of the Sussexes, we will examine the endgame. We will look at how the American public is finally turning the page, and why the royal rebellion is ending not with a bang, but with a yawn. The curtain is about to fall, and the actors are starting to realize that the theater is almost empty. The secrets are out. The bill is due. And the sun is setting on the American Riviera. We have reached the final act. We have peeled back the layers of the handwritten flight cards, the commercialized nursery, the psychological mirroring of a dead princess, the hemorrhaging bank accounts, and the terrifying legal minefield of discovery. Now, as the sun begins to dip below the horizon of the Pacific Ocean, casting long, dramatic shadows over the manicured lawns of Montecito, we must confront the most brutal reality of all. In the world of the Sussexes, there has always been a noise, a constant, vibrating hum of controversy, grievance, and high-production drama. But in the final act of 2024 and beyond, that noise is being replaced by something far more lethal to a celebrity brand: silence. For 4 years, Harry and Meghan's primary product was the conflict. They were the royal rebels, the whistleblowers of the monarchy, the tragic lovers fleeing a medieval institution. But the royal rebellion has a fundamental flaw. It requires an opponent who fights back. Buckingham Palace, adhering to the centuries-old mantra of never complain, never explain, has effectively starved the Sussexes of the oxygen they need. By refusing to engage in a public mudslinging match, the King and the Prince of Wales have turned the Sussexes' truth into a one-sided monologue that the world is no longer interested in hearing. The first sign of the endgame wasn't a headline, it was an invitation list, or rather, the lack of one. When Harry and Meghan first landed in California, they were the ultimate get for the Hollywood elite. They were the crown jewels of the A-list dinner circuit. But look at the landscape now. The Sussex chill has set in. The heavy hitters of Hollywood, the Clooneys, the Obamas, the Spielbergs, have quietly retreated. In a town where discretion is the highest form of currency, A couple that records private family moments for Netflix and publishes intimate text messages from sisters-in-law is a liability. You don't invite someone to dinner if you're afraid your table talk will end up in the prologue of a paperback memoir. The status shift has been tectonic. They have transitioned from being global icons to being content. And when the content became repetitive, they became something even worse: punchlines. When South Park and Family Guy turned their satirical lenses on the worldwide privacy tour, the damage was irreversible. Satire is the point of no return for a brand built on self-importance. Once the public starts laughing at you rather than with you, the grand humanitarian persona collapses. The 10 people in the square at Geneva weren't just a low turnout, they were a symptom of a global unfollowing. But perhaps the most telling sign of the sunset is the bifurcation of the brand. Notice the recent shift in their public appearances. We are seeing less of Harry and Meghan as a singular unit, and more of Harry and Meghan as separate corporate entities. Harry is returning to his roots: charity work in Africa, veterans issues, and the Invictus Games, trying to reclaim the soldier prince image that the world once loved. Meanwhile, Meghan is doubling down on the lifestyle empire: the jams, the cooking shows, and the high-fashion selfies. This is the sound of a brand in a controlled descent. They have realized that the joint venture is saturated. To survive, they must diversify. But in doing so, they are losing the only thing that made them unique: the fairy tale narrative. Without the us against the world romance, they are just two more wealthy Californians with a struggling startup and a lot of legal fees. Which leads us to the ultimate question: what is the end game? The American Riviera orchard is a gamble of total desperation. It is an attempt to turn a royal title into a retail empire before the public apathy becomes absolute. But you cannot sell aspirational luxury to a public that feels indignation fatigue. You cannot preach about child safety while your own children are being used as background props for a candle launch. The contradictions have become too heavy for the brand to carry. The sunset of the Sussexes is not a sudden crash. It is a slow, quiet fading of the light. The royal tours of Nigeria and Colombia were simulation tours, grand performances of a role they no longer hold, played out in front of cameras they themselves paid for. They are living in a royal Truman Show, where every bow, every handshake, and every official speech is part of a set that they are finding harder and harder to maintain. As we look back through these 6 chapters, a pattern emerges. It is a pattern of a couple that believed they could have the perks of the crown without the weight of the cross. They thought they could outmaneuver a 1,000-year-old institution using the tools of modern PR. But the monarchy plays in centuries, the Sussexes play in seasons, and the seasons are changing. The velvet curtain is falling. The lights in the Montecito boardroom are flickering. The flight crew's card has been filed away. The strawberry jam has been tasted and forgotten. Harry and Meghan wanted to speak their truth to change the world. Instead, they spoke it so often that the world stopped listening. They are no longer the future of the monarchy. They are a cautionary tale of what happens when you trade duty for fame, and then find out that fame is a fickle master. The story of the Sussexes began with a wedding that captivated billions. It is ending in a quiet California sunset, with a couple looking out over the ocean, wondering which stunt is left to pull, while the rest of the world has already turned the page. The play is over. The audience has gone home, and the only thing left on the stage is the ghost of a crown that they threw away. Epilogue, the final verdict. Was it worth it? The $100 million Netflix deal, the numbered jam jars, the simulation tours, and the fractured family ties? As always, the final verdict belongs to you. Is Meghan Markle a visionary who escaped a gilded cage to build a modern empire? Or is she a master of artifice who accidentally staged the destruction of her own legend? The comments section is now your courtroom. Let the discussion begin. And don't forget to subscribe, because in the world of high-stakes power, the next curtain is always about to rise. If the first 2 chapters of this saga revealed the mechanical gears of the Sussex PR machine and the commercialization of their family life, Part 3 plunges us into the psychological labyrinth of identity. In the sun-drenched hills of Montecito, a strange phenomenon is occurring, a high-stakes game of identity theft of the spirit. To understand Meghan Markle's current trajectory, we must look not at who she is, but at the 2 women she is desperately trying to become. the late Princess Diana, and the current Princess of Wales, Catherine. Let us start with the Diana blueprint. For decades, the ghost of the people's princess has loomed large over the British monarchy. But in the hands of Meghan Markle, that ghost has been drafted into service as a primary marketing tool. During the recent high-profile trip to Nigeria, a tour many dubbed the Royal Tour Simulation, the world watched as Meghan moved with an obsessive precision. Every tilt of the head, every lingering touch with a stranger, every choice of jewelry was a sepia-toned echo of a mother-in-law she never met. The cameras captured her in a backless, sand-colored dress, draped in a gold collar, standing before the Nigerian people. To the casual observer, it was fashion. To the analyst, it was a seance. She was channeling the iconic 1990s aesthetic of Diana, attempting to wrap herself in the same cloak of tragic humanitarianism that once defined the Princess of Wales. But there is a fundamental difference that the public is beginning to sense. Diana's power came from her vulnerability within a rigid system she couldn't escape. Meghan's performance comes from a woman who escaped the system and now realizes that, without it, she is just another celebrity in a sea of influencers. But the most jarring aspect of this psychological theater is what critics have called the cosplay of Catherine. There is a silent, invisible Cold War being fought across the Atlantic. On one side, we have Catherine, the Princess of Wales, a woman who represents the keep calm and carry on ethos of the old guard. On the other, we have Meghan, who represents the speak your truth culture of the new world. Yet, whenever Catherine makes a move, whenever the Princess of Wales gains the sympathy or admiration of the global public, the Montecito machine reacts with the speed of a reflex. Notice the timing. When Catherine released her deeply moving, personal video addressing her health and her family, the world stopped to offer a moment of genuine grace. What was the response from the California camp? Within hours, a leak regarding a new product line, a coincidental paparazzi shot of a casual outing, or a sepia-toned memory of a past royal event. This is not just competition, it is a frantic attempt to occupy the same psychological space in the public mind. In Part 1, we discussed the flood the zone strategy. Here, it evolves into mirroring. If Catherine is seen as the dutiful mother, Meghan releases a series of staged photos in her closet, with young Lilibet at her feet, the statue effect we discussed in Part 2. She is attempting to claim the archetype of the iconic mother. But the resolution is too high, the clothes are too designer, and the gaze is always too aware of where the lens is hiding. The irony is profound. Meghan Markle claimed she left the United Kingdom to find her own voice and to live a life free from the suffocating protocols of the palace. And yet, she has spent the last 4 years meticulously recreating a version of that life in California. She uses royal titles on jam jars. She demands royal-level security at casual dinners. She embarks on quasi-royal tours in Africa and South America. She is a woman who turned down the job but keeps showing up to the office in the uniform. Why this obsession with the royal blueprint? Because the Sussexes have discovered a terrifying truth. Harry and Meghan, as individuals, are not a billion-dollar brand. Prince Harry and the Duchess are. Without the proximity to the crown, even a proximity defined by conflict, the value of their stock plummets. But as the cosplay of Catherine continues, the Diana Delusion is starting to fray at the edges. The world is beginning to see the Nigeria trip and the Geneva speech not as acts of service, but as episodes of a pilot that was never picked up for a second season. We have seen the cards, we have seen the boardroom in the nursery, and now we have seen the identity crisis of a woman trying to out-Diana Diana. But there is one final, cold reality that no amount of PR can mask. It is the one thing that truly keeps the lights on in Montecito. In the next chapter, we dive into the failing empire. We will look at the financial desperation behind the American Riviera orchard, and why the Sussex's Hollywood dream is turning into a nightmare of broken contracts and empty bank accounts. The bill is coming due, and the currency of grievances is no longer being accepted. The mirror is cracking, and the reflection is starting to fade. If the previous chapters were a psychological study of masks and mirrors, Part 4 is an autopsy of a business plan. Behind the high walls of the $14 million Montecito estate, a new sound has begun to drown out the chirping of the California cicadas, the rhythmic, unrelenting ticking of a financial clock. The dream was simple: or so they told the world. Move to America, trade royal duty for corporate impact, and build a billion-dollar brand that would rival the likes of Oprah or the Obamas. But in 2024, the Sussex empire is no longer an expanding territory. It is an itemized list of overheads. To maintain the lifestyle of a global icon without the sovereign grant, you don't just need money, you need an industrial, never-ending supply of it. Private security, public relations firms on 2 continents, a staff of assistants, and the sheer maintenance of a mansion that demands 5 figures a month just to keep the lights on. This is the hidden engine behind the flood the zone strategy we've explored. Every spontaneous photo, every leaked flight card, every quasi-royal tour isn't just about ego, it's about survival. Because in Hollywood, the moment your cultural currency stops circulating, the banks stop calling. The first major crack in the hull appeared in the summer of 2023, when the Spotify deal, once hailed as a $20 million landmark, went up in flames. It wasn't just the termination of the contract that hurt. It was the epitaph written by Bill Simmons, a high-ranking Spotify executive, who famously labeled the couple the F-ing grifters. That single word, grifters, did more damage than 1,000 tabloid headlines. It suggested that the product being sold was hollow. It implied that the humanitarian brand was a subscription service with no new episodes. Which brings us to the most desperate pivot yet: American Riviera Orchard. The world watched in a mix of confusion and fascination as Meghan Markle, the woman who once dined with heads of state and addressed the United Nations, began sending out 50 numbered jars of strawberry jam. Let the gravity of that sink in. The global icon, who promised to change the world's digital landscape, is now competing with artisanal farm stands in Santa Barbara. To the elite analysts, this isn't a lifestyle brand, it's a jam jar mirage. It is a frantic attempt to find a revenue stream that doesn't involve complaining about the British royal family, because even their most loyal fans are suffering from outrage fatigue. The problem is that a lifestyle brand requires a lifestyle people actually want to emulate. But when your brand is built on the twin pillars of victimhood and exclusion, how do you sell domestic bliss? This financial pressure is what led to the Geneva disaster, mentioned in Part 1. Meghan needed that speech to go viral to prove to Netflix, the last remaining giant in her corner, but her voice still carries weight. She needed the adulation of the Swiss elite to secure the next season of her cooking show or her polo documentary. Instead, she got 10 people in a square and the yawning woman in a pink jacket. Netflix is watching. They aren't a charity. They are a data-driven machine. They have seen the numbers for Spare. They have seen the declining interest in the Sussex documentaries. The word from the industry is that the golden handcuffs are tightening. The streaming giant wants content, and content in the Sussex world has always meant one thing: the royal family. Meghan and Harry are caught in a lethal paradox. To pay for their lifestyle, they must remain royal. But to remain royal in America, they have to keep the conflict with the palace alive. Yet, the more they attack the palace, the more they alienate the very A-list crowd, the Clooneys, the Spielbergs, the Obamas, who prize discretion above all else. They are becoming the people that everyone invites to the party for the drama, but no one wants to sit next to at dinner. The hemorrhaging isn't just about money, it's about loyalty. One by one, the Sussex Survivors Club, the long list of high-level staff who have resigned from Archewell, continues to grow. From chiefs of staff to global press secretaries, the revolving door at Montecito suggests a leadership style that is as pressurized as the cabins Meghan supposedly finds so difficult. And so, we find ourselves back at the beginning. The anniversary kiss, the flight cruise card, the staged photos. They aren't celebrations. They are proof-of-life videos for investors. They are a signal to the world that the brand is still thriving, even as the foundations turn to sand. But as the empire struggles to find its footing, a new and darker storm is gathering. It's a storm that involves the one thing Harry and Meghan cannot control: the law. In the next chapter, Part 5, The Legal Minefield, we look at the high-stakes court battles that are threatening to expose the one thing the Sussexes fear most: their own private communications. From the American visa scandal to the privacy lawsuits that may backfire, the couple is about to learn that when you take on the world in court, you have to be prepared to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. The bill is no longer just in dollars, it's in secrets. Let us return to the flicking flame of a candle. In the recent anniversary montage released by the Duchess, a soft, amber glow illuminates a room that looks less like a home and more like a high-end catalog. It's a beautiful shot, warm, intimate, a glimpse into the private sanctuary of a global icon. But if you pause the frame, if you look past the soft focus of the foreground, you see it. A strategically placed candle, its label facing the camera with the precision of a Super Bowl commercial. This isn't just a home movie, it is a soft launch. The Duke and Duchess spent years and millions in legal fees, arguing that their children, Archie and Lilibet, deserved a life of normalcy, away from the toxic gaze of the British press. They sued news agencies for using long-range lenses. They spoke of the generational trauma caused by the camera. And yet, in her latest bid to launch American Riviera Orchard, her new lifestyle empire, the lens that was once described as a predator has become a business partner. In one particularly jarring clip, we see young Archie. He is a ghost in his own home, captured in grainy, filtered footage that is meant to feel authentic. But notice the composition. The child is positioned almost as a prop, a human element designed to lend soul to the sale of organic jams and luxury linen. This is the boardroom of the nursery. The children are no longer just heirs to a royal legacy. They are being drafted as brand ambassadors for a lifestyle that their parents are desperate to monetize. There is a disturbing irony in the timing. Just days before these intimate family videos were leaked, Meghan stood on that cold, empty stage in Geneva, Thuisy, preaching to 10 people about the dangers of social media and the exploitation of children online. She spoke with tears in her eyes about protecting the innocence of the next generation from the digital vultures. And then, she flew home and uploaded her own children to the very platform she had just decried. Critics have pointed out a recurring theme in these family glimpses: the statue effect. In almost every video released by the Sussexes, the children are never seen playing naturally. They are seen in staged, rigid poses, looking at flowers, sitting perfectly still in pajamas, or walking away from the camera. They aren't living, they are posing. They have been transformed into symbolic children, icons of a perfection that doesn't exist, used to distract the public every time a business deal fails or a public appearance flops. But the desperation of the flood the zone strategy doesn't stop at the nursery door. It extends to the company they keep. And this is where the curtain truly begins to rip. After the humiliation of the Geneva trip, the empty square, the yawning onlookers, the realization that her humanitarian brand was losing its gravity, Meghan sought out a new kind of validation. She was seen, radiant as ever, in a selfie with Willa Ridman, a high-ranking Finnish politician. To a casual observer, it was just another power dinner in a life of elite networking. But a simple Google search reveals the rot beneath the surface. Willa Ridman is not just a politician. He is a man haunted by shadows. He has faced harrowing allegations of sexual harassment toward young women and girls. He has been accused of sending racist, derogatory text messages. He represents the very antithesis of the intersectional feminist and voice for the marginalized that Meghan Markle claims to be. How does the global ambassador for women find herself smiling for a selfie with a man facing such accusations? Her team was quick to activate the damage control. They whispered to their preferred outlets that she didn't know who he was, that it was a group dinner, and that she was merely being polite. But Ridman's own posts told a different story, one of a deliberate dinner with Meghan. In the world of high-level diplomacy and PR, ignorance is not an excuse. It is a confession of incompetence. The truth is, when you are losing your grip on the global stage, you stop being picky about who holds the ladder for you. The Geneva failure proved that the royalty without the responsibility experiment was failing. The public is tired of the grievances. The victim narrative has reached its expiration date. And so, Part 2 leaves us with a haunting question. What happens when the perfect wife and the protective mother archetypes are revealed to be nothing more than marketing personas? We have seen the children used as props for candles. We have seen the humanitarian mired in a selfie scandal with a controversial figure. The veneer is cracking. The American Riviera is starting to look like a mirage. But wait, because in the next chapter, we look at the ultimate stunt, the one that involves the ghost of a mother-in-law she never met. We will explore the cosplay of Catherine and why Meghan's obsession with the future Queen of England has become her greatest liability. The stage is set, the lights are dimming, and the audience is finally starting to look behind the props.